let's start. Talk about how I started to read science fiction books in the first place.
It's the flag that you've been waving, flavor you've been craving. It's the Oops So Raisin Show. Well, now I'm hungry.
My mother kidnapped me and brought me to Israel to live.
That's a good start.
I'm on the plane. I think I'm going for a vacation.
Yeah. Okay.
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 And I say, it didn't occur to me. I said, Mom, how long are we going for? And she said, we're not going back on the plane. So, and I'm like, what about my Mad magazines? I was 13. My Mad magazines, my comic books, my great uncle's baseball cards that had Willie Mays rookie card. I could be totally retired had those cards not been thrown out. And I have a suspicion, as I know who might have them.
Really?
Yes.
Do we need to go on a mission and a heist, as it were?
Yeah. Heists.
I've always wanted to do a heist.
Oh my God. It speaks to my heart. I'm a heist guy. One of the great things that I've read are heist books, and oh my God, and that's coming up for the album that's coming out in about 360 days. There's an album on I should have kissed her more is about Friday the 13th before Valentine's Day 2026. Going to have a big party for it.
Okay.
And there's an album being released, and it's love stories that are filled with horror stuff. And I want people coming up and telling their stories about Valentine's Day nightmares and relationship nightmares, and then bands will be playing. We'll get more into that as we get along.
Yeah, I was gonna say, before we get too in the weeds in the conversation. Would you mind introducing yourself, or should I introduce myself? And then...
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Pi, resident podcast host in my studio called Raisin Hell. I don't know if you saw the poster back there, but Ray made that for me.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's awesome.
Yeah. The whole theme originally was like, why do raisins get so much hate? We have like big chocolate chip cookies, I like to say, or big chocolate. And it really seems that oatmeal raisin cookies and raisins in general really get a bad rap, even though they're not that bad. I really enjoy raisins, and I really enjoy oatmeal raisin cookies. I don't understand why they get such a bad rap, so I'm trying to bring...
Raisin Hell is great. So you continue, please.
And so this is a raisin advocacy channel, as well as hopefully just a purveyor of truth and interesting stories. So that being said, we have Larry Vortex here. Larry, please take it away.
Well, the first thing is pie. I need to know how you got to pie.
Pie is a childhood nickname. I think I brought like a slice of apple pie in my lunch one day in like third grade, and from then on was dubbed apple pie.
Yeah.
And over the years, it's slowly shortened to pie.
Do you know it is PI?
Yeah, I took some creative license on that.
Well, but that's super great because because pi 3.14, it's a very important. Very important throughout history, both in occult sciences and in geometry. Did you ever see the movie Pi?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so what I did, I saw, it's arty movie, and I like it well enough, and we could talk about later. The Kabbalah will probably come up, but before I sat down in the theater, we were sitting in art house, and I say, Pi or square, pie or round, no, I fucked it up.
That's okay. We can cut it in post if you wanna take it back.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. So I can't believe I fucked up the joke. My first joke. This is why I could not make it as a stand-up. I sucked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Gotta turn this over again.
I just don't have the confidence.
So, pie are square? My mama always made pie and they were round. And then I sat down and I didn't say another thing, but people in the audience were probably looking for other seats.
Like, we left our tomatoes at home. I actually think that's pretty funny. I'll
So,
give you that.
Larry Fisher, and I'm here to talk about Faculty X. We have a new release, The New Age of Cosmic Horrors.
Yes.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited about our projects, past, present, and future. I keep things, I always have future projects years ahead of time because then I know that I have a future. And I know I have to accomplish these things. So, in 350 days or so, we'll have the Friday the 13th before Valentine's Day. The Nightmare Before Valentine's Day coming out. The songs are already done, pretty much. So
give me a quick rundown of how it goes from a concept to a full-fledged album and visual spectacle.
So I knew that I wanted to have a band that would focus in on philosophical, sometimes hard philosophical ideas that we could turn into a tune that people would like to listen to, and so I mean the name Faculty X comes from Colin Wilson, and he was an incredible writer of everything. I mean, he wrote books on the occult. He wrote books. He just wrote on everything. And Faculty X. He was doing a book on Abraham Maslow, who was like, there's Freud, there's Jung, there's Maslow, and there were some other big names. And Maslow was someone who had this psychological idea of like where Freud and Jung were both going into mental hospitals and interviewing people and psychologically evaluating. Maslow said, what about the people who are just out there in the world who actually live really full lives and seem to have energy and are positive?
Yeah.
And so that's what interested Colin Wilson. But the Faculty X is, we all have faculties that we rely on that we can see that are in this world.
Yeah.
And he said that there are these faculties that are ever present, they're right in front of us, but we don't recognize them, we can't see them. We have a hard time thinking about them. And so like his book, The Occult, is just filled with all these obvious things that we know are real, but they haven't been proven yet. Occult means secret knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And everything started from an occult place. Alchemical science was experimenting with chemistry, and they didn't know what they were doing, and they were just figuring stuff out, and they had an idea, and they would try it out, and they allowed themselves to experiment. It wasn't just about making gold from lead.
Yeah.
It was, and Jung turned that into a psychological idea. What if we're alchemical beings? Like, what kind of vessel am I now? What kind of do I have heat underneath me? Am I hot? Am I burning? Am I relaxed? Am I cool? And try to look at alchemy as something that was psychological, that you could evaluate on a moment-to-moment basis, mm-hmm. and have a physical reality attached to it. Isaac Newton was a big occultist. He has more on the occult than he did on math and science. And one of the things that is missing now from our scientists, not our quantum physicists really understand the occult much better than you would imagine right now, because they know that they are dealing with the occult. Our phones that are science based, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand exactly 100% why it works.
Mm.
And that's where the quantum physics kind of comes into multi dimensions and different ideas of who we are, what we are as beings. Because when they got down to the atom and they started to look beyond smaller and smaller, they recognized irrational behavior that they could not explain. So now they're dealing with a science that works that they don't understand. So, you could actually, one could say that we live in an occult world now that is just not being dealt with.
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely believe it. I've, started kind of looking into, theoretical physics and things like that. I don't know if you've read it or heard any of the stuff Terrence Howard has been saying,
No.
but he did an episode of Joe Rogan that was really cool where he talks about, the theory that we live in an electric universe, and that everything is based off of energy. But yeah, I find it so interesting because in theoretical physics and metaphysics and stuff, it's all about the unknown. It's all about intelligent guesses, trying to figure it out, and it's just so fascinating.
And then bringing in the math and
Yeah.
and then evaluating to see what actually can work. But we need that imagination
Mm-hmm.
to be there, to be present. So that's where the term faculty, the name of the band Faculty X, comes from.
Okay, I was thinking it was like a college or it's like,
Well, I mean, sure,
but
it's a
there's more to
faculty, and yeah, and then so the first album is. I'm going to take off my jacket if that's all right.
Yeah, go for it. Please make yourself comfortable.
Thanks. So Trash Stratum is the name of the first album. So what is that? What is the Trash Stratum? And it comes from Philip K. Dick.
Okay.
And I'm a big science fiction reader. I haven't told that story. Let me tell that story now. So 73, my mother kidnaps me. Holocaust survivor, doesn't know that she was not supposed to do that. Her family survived from Nazi Germany in Lithuania, and in the middle of the night, their father picked them up, put them on a boat to a hiding place where they hid in a hole for 22 months. So for her to take me on a plane and bring me to Israel, that's not a big deal.
Practically urbane.
Right? Except for the goddamn Willie Mays, the rookie baseball card, and Mickey Mantle, and all those guys. I was multi-millionaire.
Moms, that's the most mom story.
Moms created the collectible market because people went away to college. They came back. The room has now got a sewing kit in it, and all the collectible shit that they had all their lives was sold or thrown away or went to.
I feel like you might really be onto something with that.
Oh, for sure.
The artificial market.
Yeah.
Supported by moms.
Yes. Thank God for moms and collectible market. There'd be none. Everybody would have everything. We'd be piled. I'd be looking at shit from your childhood if it wasn't for mom right now.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I feel like you almost can't have it either. You can't have it both ways. Like either you have a parent that's a hoarder, or you have a parent that just throws your shit out.
Right. That's right.
So it's like, which would you rather have at the end of the day? I guess probably millions of dollars.
That's right. So the concept of the Trash Stratum for the album, and well, let's just talk about what Philip K. Dick was talking about. Was like he had this idea that that things are getting thrown away. He was a Pulp Fiction writer, and he knew that people were reading his stuff and other people's stuff, and then discarding it, just throwing it out. But there was value in this stuff that he knew that was for way beyond more of the immediate future. It was talking about futures that were to come and ideas and concepts that should have been held on to for longer. That there was value, that there was gold. There was it has meaning for Gnosticism. For him, he was a Gnostic, and that's a kind of that they shared the idea of secret knowledge, which was that there are things that, like when you look at what the Bible is, those were selected by rabbis who did, but there was a lot of stuff that was not put into these. But there was libraries of books, hundreds and hundreds of books that they consolidated into the 5 books. But there were many other books that were like, let's not go there, because that will there is a kind of control issue, and
it's a narrative.
Yeah, and the control issue is something that will. There's some secret knowledge that I'm holding on to right now, that I'm gonna give you some links and stuff to put up, because my real story that I have to tell you needs to be I need everyone to fact check what I'm going to tell you for another day.
Okay.
And so I'm going to be giving you links and stuff, because I mean,
Okay.
you could say this is going to turn into the next episode a conspiracy story, but I'm going to send you all the links, and you'll have all the information, and then once you see that I might be a crackpot, but I'm not but I'm not crazy.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm a sucker for a good conspiracy theory, and I know that I think a lot of people are out there are as well, and so hopefully, what you have to tell me is interesting and not and isn't going to get us into too much trouble.
I was so that's what we'll get into, and it's actually what the new album, The New Age of Cosmic Horrors, is about. And do you want to play a little bit?
Yeah.
From it? Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I want people to I'll just tell the story of with this in the background. Start with this one. Yeah. I just want to show people real quick. I decided to keep this played. Oh, fantastic.
The story of how this first all began. Well, we worked together, but after that, Larry invited me to come see his show.
It's good. Dolly Whirl.
Dolly Whirl. So Dolly Whirl, Faculty X. He had a really, really cool premiere at Gallery 3. And we watched all these cool videos on the big screen, which I recommend for really anything, for anybody. You have something to watch. Big
Yeah. We'll talk about Dolly Whirl. Just a little bit about the cosmic horror and what I meant to do with this album, how I was thinking about this album. So William Hope Hodgson, he's got this book, Nightlands, and I loved it so much. It's a love story, but it has cosmological monsters in it, and it's about him looking for the love of his life in the 17th to go. He communicates, so everyone is living in this world that's dark now. The sun is gone, and he gets in communication with someone from who he was married to in the 17th century, so millions of years earlier. And there's another pyramid that he comes, and he's going to go get her.
Yeah.
And then, that early in the book that ends, and he is now in this future land, and he's going to go through all the horrors. And I thought what I wanted to do is the book reads like a heavy metal story. Did you ever read Heavy Metal magazine or in the 70s?
I've seen the first heavy metal movie.
Okay, perfect. That's perfect. So imagine, someone who's a Vietnam veteran, and he gets a hold of this book. He has PTSD, and he gets a hold of this book, Nightlands, and he's reading it.
Yeah.
On the beach. He's not really talking to people. He's surfing, and he's reading this book, and what it was like for him to live in a van and come home to his van and just live on the beach, and then travel to this world of this future world where it's 2 million years in the future, and he's going back in time. And so every song is him starting in California on the beach, trying to deal with his PTSD, and heading back in time, and then to deal with things that were upsetting him, and to see if he could deal with them, and then to be in this future place of nightmares, cosmological nightmares, monsters, which are no different than the monsters that we deal with on a regular basis. We have, so there's a song, and in the book they talk a lot about hum and drum hums going on, and I thought, well, let's have a song about all the hums that we have in our world that we can't explain. Let's have there's the fluorescent lights that are irritating us, all the things that are hidden monsters that we can't really see or put our fingers on, but are ever present. The traffic jam, where you're surrounded by immense vehicles that are blocking you in, you're stuck in traffic, and just all the regular things that we deal with now because we're stuck in this matrix. But what if we can transport ourselves to a world where the monsters exist and they're part of our lives, but we're not going to take it personally. We're going to find ourselves. So this whole album is about exploring this guy's inner world and coming to appreciate the tragedies that have happened in his life, and an understanding to help him get through it. And of course, that's me. I am that monster. I'm looking at the monster in me.
Cool.
So that's what this whole album is about. It's about this 70s guy who's into guitar and music and reading this book and traveling back in time with the book about his own life, to understand what a future life could look like, even if it looks like a depressing world.
Yeah.
Where is he going to find the meaning of that world in a 2 million years from now, where it's all dark? How do you survive? Why do you survive? And he gets this communication from a smaller pyramid where there's a woman who is his wife. He recognized his wife from millions of years ago. What's the first thing that happens when they meet? After he's gone through monsters, he's killed monsters. What's the first thing that happens when he meets her?
I have no idea.
They have a fight. They have a fight. And then there's this great romantic moment where now they're traveling back to the big pyramid, and she's on top of a monster, and she's banging the knife into the back, and he's strangling this monster, and so they're killing together. It's a beautiful romantic story if you think about it.
I think that really gets back to basics.
So I think we can so that's the project now. I hope you enjoy it. I want everyone
Yeah.
to see it. We'll put a link in it.
Yes,
And
please.
I'll
Please go check it
start.
out.
And what I liked about it is that because he has remote viewing, he can see where the pyramid is,
Mhm.
and because
How does that
it's
happen?
such a great story.
Yeah, I really wanna hear it.
We'll even go a little further, but I may as well
Okay.
just tell my family story.
Yeah, tell me the tale.
So my family's from a small town in Lithuania,
Okay.
and my they lived for 22 months in a hole in the ground. And and we'll have to put the links up too. There's a children's book about it called The Boy in the Grave.
Okay.
And my aunt is also Miss Holocaust survivor. There was actually a Holocaust survivor, so we'll put that link in too.
Okay, I'll take these down.
Yeah, I'll send you those links.
And your aunt was Miss Holocaust
Miss
survivor?
Holocaust survivor.
What year? What year?
I was like 10 years ago or so, something
What?
like that. Every year, and it's also put together by Germans.
Wow.
Just so you know, okay.
That's the least they could do, right?
Right. So my family story is very dark. My grandfather was a fishmonger, but a wealthy man.
Mhm.
The house that they lived in is now was a mansion and is now a school.
Okay.
And he took his money. He tried talking to other people. He listened to, because he was a fishmonger and knew all the waterways and wealthy. He listened to shortwave radio, knew all these languages: Russian, German, Yiddish, of course, Polish, and so he was listening to the news, and he heard that they were separating children from their parents.
Mm.
And when he heard that, he said, "No." He said, "That is not happening." And he had been through the pogroms in Russia, so he kind of been through a Holocaust already. So he knew the game plan. He understood, and he tried talking to other people about it in the town. My family is the only family that has 3 of the 5 kids survived in that hole.
Mm.
The only family that has any survivors was my mother, my aunt, and my uncle. And my uncle was the baby who always lived in darkness, essentially, never saw light,
Mm-hmm.
and always had something in his mouth because he couldn't scream. He had to keep quiet. And so, and he grew up to become a professor of theology at Grinnell. And every year went to a Zen Buddhist monastery where, what did he do? He went to a monastery where you stayed in a dark hole and stayed quiet. So a piece of cake for him. He was in there for 22 months.
Vacation.
The family, the day my grandfather, and initially my family would hide out in this hole, and the Polish family, it was in a barn.
Yeah.
He dug the grave in a barn. He thought he was getting to the Russian side quicker than 22 months. He did not expect that. He did not know how hard it was going to be. And so the farmer was giving them food, and then other Jews were found in other farms, right? And they killed everyone in the family. They killed the farmers too. So he was afraid that his family would die, so he wasn't taking any food from them anymore because he was fearful of poison. So he would go out at night, steal food and stuff. He told them that his brother, who was part of the Jewish underground, and I'll explain what the Jewish underground did, knew where he was. His brother did not know where he was. Jewish underground are people who climbed up in trees, hid in trees. Lithuanian Jews were living in trees. My family was, my grandfather's side of the family, my grandmother's side of the family was artistic. My grandfather's side were hillbillies. Okay. Hillbilly people. So they really knew the woods.
Yeah.
And so he would go out and steal food. And I got to tell you this one detail. So for decades, when it would rain at night, my mother would freak out. Just completely freak out. And she has dementia. And when early on in dementia, did you know that there's good dementia?
No.
There's good dementia. There's the medicine that they take, and they start telling the truth about their lives in ways that they had never done before. So I said to her when she had the good dementia, I said, Mom, what was it about the rain at night that freaks you out? My father had to go steal food at night, and if it was raining, he could track his foot tracks would lead back to the barn. So it was much more dangerous to go and steal food at night. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. That was the thing that just lived on. There were other things. My father's side of the family are connected to mob, and my mom also wouldn't admit to that. You know, yeah. Then the good dementia kicked in, and she used to yell and scream at me, "How can you say Dad was part of the mob? Blah blah blah." You know, and it would be, well, you, and I'd say like, well, explain this to me. I'm sitting there at the table. Dad walks in. He's covered in blood. He's covered in blood. His mother is yelling at him. This is on my dad's side of the family. His mother's yelling, "I just bought you that shirt. That's a new shirt. What did you do?" Blah, blah, blah. And he says, "But Ma, it's not my blood." And she quietly takes that shirt, folds it up, and nothing is ever spoken about that again. So, and so, yeah. Well, so then when my mom had the good dementia, I say, "Mom, was Dad part of the mafia?" Of course they were part of the mafia. They had an interstate trucking business. You think you can get anything done without being connected to the mob? So there was all these truths. Okay. And I almost feel like part of her dementia was holding on to these lies that she had to hold on to. Yeah. So that's the background, Holocaust survivors. Then my parents split up. And, this you gotta hear. So, my mom was totally proud of this moment of her life. Your dad was trying to run me over with the car. Okay. And I said, he's going to kill me. So what did I do? I picked you up and I put you in front of me. Good one, Ma. Yeah. Well, it worked. Good thinking. It totally worked. Yeah, I was like, it totally worked.
You're still here.
Yeah. So then, but I didn't live with my mom. I lived with my grandparents upstate. When they came here, they opened up a bungalow colony. Do you know what a bungalow colony is in Monticello in the Borscht Belt?
No.
Okay, so in Monticello, all these it's Miss Maisel. You know, when they live in the bungalow colony, it's where all the Jews. It was the Jewish Alps, upstate New York. What families would do, Jewish families would do, is bring their families to these little cottages and bungalows that they lived in, and the father would come up on Friday in heavy traffic and then leave on Sunday in heavy traffic to go to work. Mm-hmm. But the families were there for the whole summer. Mm-hmm. This is what my grandparents opened up. They opened up a bungalow colony in Monticello, New York. Okay. On Old Liberty Road in Kyamusha near, well, we'll get to it. And so I loved it. I just loved my grandparents. My grandfather was a hero. I didn't know what that meant, but but they knew that he saved his family, right? I'm here because he saved his family, whereas everybody else from that town are dead. Never, you know. So people would come over to me from the bungalow colony, pat me on the back. And I wouldn't know what that meant. But I knew what my grandfather was doing with me and my cousin. He was taking us into the woods, and we had to kill little animals. We had to shoot little animals, cook them on the spot. And then he would make us climb trees that, you know, if we fell out of the tree, we would be dead. And he would scream up to us, "Go higher." So he trained us from an early age of survival, what he knew of how he survived. Because he predicted that this world would come to this now, where we might need those skills again.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like we're seeing some of the same things start happening.
Yes.
Now as back then.
Yes. So that is, you know. So then I am up there, and then I go. Now I'm 5 years old, and my grandfather puts me on the bus in Monticello by myself. It's a 2-hour drive to Port Authority. And says, you're going to go live with your mother now. She's a very sick woman. Take care of her.
Damn.
Okay?
Yeah, at least you got a warning.
Yeah. Not you know, these warnings that these people give are exactly not what you want. It's like what my I'm glad you said that, because my Aunt Rita also did that. She was like, I am not telling you kids what happened in that hole until my parents are dead. So then the cousins were all looking at each other. Did they eat the other children? I mean, it's worse. Actually, this imaginative. So, but, you know, so I'm in the Bronx, and my mother decides that I should go to yeshiva, even though we're not Orthodox Jews.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem with that is, now I'm in a yeshiva, and all the other Orthodox kids and the rabbis know that I'm not Orthodox. I'm a total outsider. Every fucking day, I'm the outsider. The rabbi, they're making fun of me. My name's Fisher, but the letter is the same. If you put a dot in the F, it becomes a P. So it would be Pisher. So now, you know, so the rabbi's calling me Pisher. I remember I was 8 years old, and I was joking around with these other kids who didn't like me, but, you know, I said, and his name was Rabbi Lipschitz, okay? And I said, if his lip shits, my ass talks. He's right fucking behind me. In fourth grade, you know, I brought in a cake for my birthday, and he says, is it kosher? And I said, of course it's kosher. I'm not, you know, I mean, you know, I'm still Jewish. I know what kosher means. I've been in this. I'm in yeshiva, for God's sake. So and he says, it's Larry. Label is my Yiddish name. It's Label's birthday. Happy birthday. He brought in a cake. I don't know if it's kosher. So none of the kids ate it. So I threw it at him. The whole cake. I threw the motherfucking cake at the rabbi. Good for me is right. And, you know, and so that was in yeshiva. So what did I learn there? Well, what I learned there is that it's kind of the same in the outside world, that now I'm walking around in the South Bronx. I grew up on Townsend Avenue in the Bronx, 170th Street. I'm going through neighborhoods with no Jewish people anymore. All they see is this kid with the yarmulke on his head. The yarmulke became a frisbee. I think I invented frisbee, or frisbee was invented because they would play. Do you know the word salugi?
No.
Oh, salugi was a word in the city where you threw stuff and not to let the other kids.
How do you spell that?
I don't know.
Salugi?
S-A-L-O. I got to look up this word. It's a good one. Salugi.
I don't know.
And so I'm in fights every single day. Every single day I'm in a fight. The rabbis are hitting me with their sticks. They're they're yelling at me. They're calling me a pisher. And then I'm walking out in the streets and I'm fighting with other kids every single day. And so this is my father taught me, you know, they were separated. So upstate New York, where he was with his mafia mother and father, he said, I came home with a black eye. And he said, who gave you to? I said, Johnny. And he said, did you hit him? No. You're not coming into this house till you go back, go knock on Mrs. Johnson's door, say, Mrs. Johnson, I need to talk to Johnny. Do not come back till you punch him in the nose, and I need to hear her call me and complain before you can come back in the house. So make sure you really punch him hard in the nose. Make sure it's bleeding. Okay, so I go and I punch him back and I come back. My mother is 10 times more of a nightmare than that. You ready for what her theory on fighting is?
Yeah.
She says, if you're surrounded by kids, because she saw what it was like for me, you know, it was pretty obvious that I was having trouble in the streets because everyone wanted to pick a fight with me. Says, you grab one kid, let's say there are 5 of them, you grab one kid and you drag them into the middle of the street and you hold them there while traffic is coming at you. And do not let go.
Scare the shit out of them.
Kids, it fucking works. Let me tell you, that fucking works.
Yeah.
Dangerous, but it works.
Valuable lessons.
Yes. So then in the summers, I'm with my grandparents upstate on this bungalow colony, and I'm going to a day camp that's not far away, right? It's right up the hill. The properties are leaning. And every week, these counselors are giving me, like every best swimmer. I was always every week after week, Phantom, best Phantom. And I didn't know what they were talking about, and didn't think about what it was. Till years of therapy later, I was, because I knew the woods so well.
Mm-hmm.
I would disappear. I didn't want to be with these kids either. Sometimes I was an isolated, like to be by myself, and I'd go to the woods, and I would do things. I would make these projects in the woods with sticks. I would create these things with sticks in the woods, and the counselors never knew where I was, and then let's say we went hiking with the other kids and stuff, and they'd walk by and they'd say, "Did you make that? Did you make that stick project over here?" And I would say, "No."
Blair
So that was so they just said I'm a phantom. They just called me a phantom.
That's really cool.
So I mean, so that gives you a little bit of a background of how strange a kid I was.
You're off to a running start.
Running start so now I'm in Israel. 73. The war breaks out a month. Yom Kippur War breaks out a month after we're there, and it was called there were the new immigrant buildings, and we were in this building, and I'm sleeping here and my mother's sleeping here. You know how hard it is to jerk off when your mother is 30 inches away from you? It's really nearly impossible.
About it, honestly. Nearly impossible.
Nearly impossible. And it was such a nightmare. Yeah. And then I didn't know Hebrew, because yeshiva is not, the Bible is written in Aramaic. Okay. And back to yeshiva for a moment. But I liked the stories, and I liked that there were different interpretations of what different rabbis said passages meant. And I like that very much. I like that there was talk about critical thinking. So you hear, and then I would raise my hand and I'd say, well, I don't think that's what was going on. And I would have Rabbi Fisher has his explanation of what and Rabbi Akiva's idea is not good enough for you. And I said, I think there's some flaws in the logic. I'm 8 years old.
Yeah.
So there's and now I'm in Israel, and I'm in a high school that everything is in Hebrew, and I don't understand anything that's going on, and there's a war going on. And so in Tel Aviv there was a used bookstore, and this guy was great to me, my first mentor in literature. He would turn me on to all this great new wave science fiction, Harlan Ellison, Ursula Le Guin, Philip K. Dick. Even if I didn't understand Samuel Delany, all these great books that are just weird and strange and was not part of the old science fiction idea of telling a story, but the new psychological stories. There was a new way, it was called New Wave of Science Fiction. Just wonderful. I brought some actually to show you.
Yeah, please do. I'm a big fan of
Roger Zelazny, Samuel Delany. Here's another Delany. This is a Kurt Vonnegut book, The Siren. That's his first book, and it's his baby. And that's a book that I brought for you. That's a gift.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And what I love about that book is The line in it is stuck in a chronosynclastic infundibulum, and stuck in a chronosynclastic infundibulum, and who was stuck in a chronosynclastic infundibulum? I was fucking stuck in it. I was in a high school where no one is speaking my language. Everyone, I mean, the best thing was French, because in French I understood the French better than the Hebrew. I was learning Hebrew from listening to the French. And let's see.
Do you like? Have you read any Orson Scott Card?
No.
That's one of my.
Science fiction?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome! Send me.
Yeah,
Put a link up for that too. Here's a Stanislaw Lem. Stanislaw Lem is a great writer. He wrote the Solaris.
Oh, Solaris! I was just talking about that the other day.
Oh shit! The book is amazing.
Yeah.
On Solaris.
I've only seen the remake of the movie.
Oh my god, you got to see it.
I need to watch the original.
Yeah, here's a Philip K. Dick. You know, I just grabbed a few books that randomly from the shelf.
No, this will be great because I'll have a record of them too. So
yeah. And here's actually a kids series by Ursula Le Guin, A Wizard of Earthsea.
I've heard of this.
A Wizard of Earthsea is the real Harry Potter shit. It's so much better than the Harry Potter books. It's incredible. And it's about finding and dealing with one's shadow, and she is just the best. And those are just highly recommend, easy reads.
Okay.
And then, well, that's enough of those for now.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I will definitely give this a read. I've read, like Slaughterhouse Rules.
Slaughterhouse 5.
Slaughterhouse 5.
Yeah, Cat's Cradle. I mean, I love Vonnegut, and but these other guys that I'm talking about are
yeah, I haven't heard of like
Delaney. Oh my God, I'm gonna be Faculty X is going to be doing an album on Delaney's on Delaney. He's just an African American writer, gay, and Dahlgren is an amazing book. Dahlgren is the one that I'm going to focus on for an album. Just real concrete, city, urban, future time, two sons, very odd, incredibly weird sex, and it's just it's so different. Delaney is a magician. Harlan Ellison. So that's so I'm totally into now. For 2 years, I'm going to this bookshop buying like 10 books a week. I have nothing to do but to read these books. I'd go to Tel Aviv University to do homework, to read the biology stuff because they had the English textbooks.
Okay.
So I'd go, and we lived not far. We lived in Ramat Aviv, so Tel Aviv University is in Ramat Aviv. So I was able to go to school. They had tennis courts. I became a tennis player there. And in many ways, in reflection, I fucking loved Israel, despite the war. There's the horror story that I will tell about war, though, is that like a city kid from the Bronx moved to Flushing, playing basketball every day every day, even in the winter when you're a kid, weather doesn't matter. And so I'm a good basketball player, and I moved to Israel, and 3 18-year-old smart-ass kids who are soldiers are playing basketball. I was a big kid, right? And they want to get physical with me. Well, fuck you, man. I've come from the streets of the Bronx, man. I know about all. And you heard my background. So I'm not afraid to punch someone in the face or push someone. So but we become friends.
Oh, cool.
They all die on a month after I get there. They're all dead on the first day of the war. It was that first day of the war was a nightmare for Israel.
Yeah.
Which so to move it up to get to this Faculty X idea of understanding about the 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 traps that we set for ourselves, and the way that our families put certain traps. So when in 1983, we only lived there for 2 years. My mother couldn't handle being, because during the war you had to go down to the basement again to hide, to be in the sheltered from the bombs and stuff. Not that it happened in Tel Aviv, but you still had to go down there, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a kid who was down in a hole for 22 months. She did not like the idea of being down in a basement. In the same way that I didn't like being kidnapped on a plane, and which was different than what happened with her, with her parent or father bringing her to a hole to live for 22 months.
Mm-hmm.
She did not like that, so we moved back to the States.
Okay.
And
have you been back since?
I have not been back since, and I actually don't want to go. I have problems with Israel. I have, my best friend, my cousin, who I trained with as kids to survive, and is there.
Mm-hmm.
He was a medic in '83 during the Beirut invasion. He had, this is an amazing story. He was a medic. He was up for like 72 hours straight. He fell asleep behind the half track. Do you know what that is?
Like a tank?
It's a kind of tank jeep, and the guy moved back. He fell asleep behind it, and he heard his own head crack, and he was on his hands, his knees. American who moved to Israel in '72. That's where my mother got the idea to move there in '73. So he's on there in his hands, his knees, with his ear dangling in front of his face, saying in English, "I am a chicken." And they were able to reattach his ear, and he became a doctor, and he's still in Israel. And last year, during this nightmare, his son, who was also, I don't know, I think he might have been a medic too, I'm not sure, was killed. He was one of the few Israelis who was killed in Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
And that so in '83, my mother says that she wants me to go speak with her shrink, and I'm thinking we're just working on stuff, her trauma. I figured that this is, we're going to communicate her trauma. And she brings me there, and the shrink is like, "Do you know why you're here?" And, to talk about trauma, about her putting me on a plane and kidnapping me, about being 5 years old and being put on a bus. All the trauma that I fucking lived with. Is this why we're here? And that she wants to confess and be. No, I'm anti-Semitic.
You?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm anti-Semitic because I want a two-state solution for Israel.
Really?
Yes. And so it was that moment that opened my eyes to how we're chained to we're chained to what our belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you've ever heard of the story of an elephant and how they're trained to not roam around. They take a string, they tie it to a baby elephant's leg and to a little tree.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that first day, 100 times it tries to pull away, and it's got a hurt leg. And then the next day, maybe it tries 50 times to get away from the tree, and it can't. And then ultimately, what happens is they've been trained that they can't get away from this string and tree. You never have to put a chain on a big tree for the most powerful animal in the world. The most powerful animal. The strongest animal that can lift massive amounts of trees when it's told to, pick this tree, uproot it, and move it, is still, for its whole life, they attach that little string to that little tree, and it won't go away from it. And I realized that that's how we are in our matrix as human beings, that we get stuck within our belief systems that are really hard to break away from. And I did not want that for myself, but I realized that I live in a world of people who are stuck in their own matrices, their own traumas that they haven't worked out. They're not reading new wave science fiction, they're not reading psychology books, they're not reading philosophies, they're not exploring themselves in any way to try to find ways to overcome these traumatic experiences.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what Faculty X is all about. And this new album in particular was trying to overcome the nuances of our traumas.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when I hear of what's going on, it's disappointing, but I get it. People are just stuck within their trauma, and like the definition of peace. Do you know what the definition of peace is?
Please tell me.
Not to be in a state of war.
Mm.
However, what it doesn't say in the dictionary is that you could be not in a state of war if you commit genocide and kill every last person who's your enemy.
Yeah.
That's where we sadly are.
Mm-hmm.
And if you talk to Israelis, if you talk to my cousin, they're not happy. They're stuck with Netanyahu the same way we're stuck with Trump right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's trying to find now the inner strength to overcome our traumatic political leaders.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I feel like we need to start looking inward again and looking to each other as opposed to externalizing our power to these structures that don't have our best interests in mind. And we've been, I feel like brainwashed as a society to kind of give up, like you were saying, to give up our power.
But
Learned helplessness.
there are true ways to overcome, and we'll be putting up links, and I'll show you how
Yes.
there are forces out there in the world who are trying to help us,
Mm-hmm.
and there are forces out there that have us locked in, and let's go. We'll just go to the trash stratum. There's a
I was just about to say, if you want to go back and tell me more about trash stratum, if that leads into.
Yeah, well, the I think put on the cut, and I think that the cut that I want to put on is one chord for 30 fans. You're still in? No, it's on a different. It's a different album. You have to go back to the. Yeah. One chord, yeah.
All right. So
Wait, this is not one chord. That's Crush Hazard.
okay, coming up, we're doing one chord.
So, do you mind us talking about where we worked at all?
No.
No.
No,
So
I don't work there.
Right.
Yeah,
So
talk about it all you
I work in Trader Joe's,
Uh-huh.
and I love it still, despite there being some new problems.
Yeah,
But
there always will be.
but this song, I got this song from that we had. Initially, we had 30 fans, and there were 30 chords,
Okay.
and they were all stolen.
What?
they were all taken. So there was only one cord for all 30 fans in the place, and I thought that would be good and ironic because one cord for 30 fans.
Wait, so what kind of fans are we talking?
Talking about when it's hot in the summer.
Oh, like what kind of psycho steals 29 cords?
Well, I think it's 29 psychos, people who need that cord for other things in their house.
Oh, was it like a USB-C?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can't do that.
So anyway, I chose this one for you to play because it can get harsh, and this was a different feel, but it also expresses the it's a good example of the trash stratum, because I used old film footage from different things and combine them in interesting ways. There's like 3-4 different films going on at the same time that I used, and then there's the Evolution Revolution, which was a monkey. It was a TV show.
Okay.
And I thought that would be fun, and I just wanted to show the value of the trash stratum, of using old footage that nobody would ever see again, and in a new way. And I'm sure there are purists who hate me for what I've done, and I'm okay with being hated. I mean, if you think of what my life has been, there's been plenty of people who, as much as I've been loved, actually, and taken care of, that's something that I want to make sure that I understood, that when you explore the traumas of, when I explored the traumas of my life, they've also contained lots of great moments, and some of the traumas were even not as traumatic when I think back. Like, I was in a group therapy session, and I was talking about how my father was an asshole. Like, I my grandmother bought me a bike, and it had the extra wheels on it. What do they call them?
The training wheels.
Training wheels. And he just said, "Fuck this," and he just like started breaking them off, and then and get on the bike, and I'd be bleeding legs and crying, and he said, "Well, get on the back on the bike." And then, we were walking by the lake, and he said, "Can you swim yet?" And I said, "No," and he just picked me up and threw me into the lake. That was my dad's way of training.
Yeah.
And so, it was trauma. And I was talking about it in group therapy, and there were like 10 other people in the group therapy session, right? And she says, "How many people know how to ride a bike?" No one knew how to ride a bike. "How many people know how to swim?" No one fucking knew how to swim. This is a Holocaust survivors, second generation Holocaust survivors group.
Yeah, wow.
No one knew how to do shit. And I was like, oh. And I just forgave him right then. It was like, oh, wait. Maybe your traumas are also revealing something about yourself that you wouldn't have. Like, maybe my dad being an asshole made me a kinder person to people.
Yeah.
I got to tell you this one other trauma. I got this one great trauma story. You got to hear it while this is playing. You ready?
Lay it on me. I'm ready.
So my dad, we're driving. He drove like 100 miles an hour. The whole area I drove in the front seat, no seatbelt.
Okay.
Beer cans, 100 beer cans.
Solid.
He throws the nickel in the toll booth, like 66. It doesn't take. He says, "Fuck this," and he goes through it was wood, toll. He goes right through it. Cops are chasing us. He says, "Put on your seatbelt." He's never said that to me in his life.
Oh my God.
He outran them. When my mom had, again, when she had the good dementia portion of her dementia, she says to me one day, "Your dad wanted to be a race car driver."
See.
And was racing. So he's driving the truck, interstate trucking business, mob related, during the week. And then whenever he gets a chance, without telling his parents, he's driving race cars. So of course he's able to outrun the cops and stuff. But I just and and I say it all. The trauma can have, if you allow the trauma to kind of go through you, there are lessons to be learned of what not to be.
Yeah.
From your parents
Mm-hmm.
that are really important lessons.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds like, he had good intentions.
Yeah. I mean,
At the
he
end of the
taught me
day,
he taught me how to swim. He taught me how to ride a bike.
Yeah, like,
He taught me how to be. It's a continuation of what my grandfather was teaching me about how ruthless and dark and pain is something that, don't let the pain get to you.
Yeah.
Survival. If you are in a moment of survival, know how to survive. So, and my mother as well. My mother taught me how to, I was. Do you see that cut mark on my arm?
Yeah, next to the cat. And
Yeah.
the
Well, I have 30 stitches in my head, and I was my ex-wife my wife at the time. She was having a performance. She played a New Year's Eve gig, and she was dressed up, and there was a gang initiation going on in the East Village, and I was paying the cab driver and telling him, because he tripled the price on whatever it was. And then I look up and I see that my wife is surrounded by all these guys, and I walk over and I say, this is my wife, Happy New Year, because they were saying, I see your balls between your legs, so
What?
Yeah, because she was dressed up and they thought she was a drag queen. They start hitting me with boards. They leave her alone, and now they're attacking me. Boards, knives, razors.
Wow.
I held on to the guy and dragged him into the middle of the street. Into that lesson fucking saved my life. When I never went down. I was dressed to the nines, beautiful suit. I was really, I used to really dress up fancy. And I'm still standing, and I say, who's that? And I see a guy in the middle of Avenue A and 10th Street, face down, and only come to find out he was an Irish immigrant who saw what happened and was coming to help me. They cut the back of his neck. He had to leave the country because he came to try to help me. And maybe he saved my life. He might have saved my life too.
Yeah, you blacked out?
I blacked out, but I held on, My whole jacket looked like a lion had attacked me. The whole jacket ripped up.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And there was another guy, part of initiation, who was killed. They went over to him and said, hey, where's the party? And he went and he pointed and they fucking killed him. So, that was 90, 91. I came to, and the two young cops looking at me, and I see Mike Edison, drummer, East Village guy, played with drummer for the Raunch Hands.
Okay.
And he passes by, and I say, go get a disposable camera and get me an egg cream. And I go like this to pay him, and my whole arm was just flapped open.
Oh, wow.
The cop was freaking out.
Yeah,
they were totally freaked out. He said, maybe you should sit down. I said, you look like you need to sit down,
I need a fucking
motherfucker.
egg cream right now.
You look pale.
I know what I need.
I need a fucking egg cream and a disposable cap. I know a photo opportunity when I see one.
Yeah, I mean, it's so wild. I think, I didn't grow up here, but my parents are from here, and so I came here, and my extended family here. So I came here.
Where were you raised?
Corning, New York.
Oh,
Ever heard of it?
Oh my God! Of course.
Oh yeah.
Corning, the Corning glass.
Yeah.
That's where the glass factory is. I was up there just I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So few people, for whatever reason, have no idea. But I feel like it's.
I'm old enough to know Corning glass.
Yeah, Corningware.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they do Gorilla Glass too now.
Oh,
which
wow.
is like on all the iPhones. Yeah, all the glass on the iPhones is Corning.
Oh, shit.
And I think they do like, I don't know, maybe like windows on airplanes and shuttles, maybe stuff
Wow.
like that.
No more pots and pans.
No,
The glassware casserole dishes.
They actually sold off Corningware, the original Corning company. So what they do more so nowadays is they make, Gorilla Glass, and they make fiber optic cable.
Wow.
Yeah, so like all the fiber optic internet cables.
So that's neat to have grown up there, right? Was it neat? Was it? Did you like it?
Yeah, they have they have a museum. There are a couple of museums.
Yeah, right.
That's why we lived there, because my dad worked for.
Oh, that's
like
amazing.
An industry town, kind of sort of. Yeah.
Scientist?
Engineer.
Yeah,
inventor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
neat.
He's done some cool stuff. But yeah, I was gonna say, but my extended family was here, so we did come here for summer vacations and to like visit and stuff. And really, just I think a lot of people really don't understand how different New York is, just in terms of the feel of it, than as opposed to now. It's a completely different feel. Like, you can just walk around and do whatever here in most places.
Yeah.
But back in the day, it really wasn't that way.
It was really, you really kind of knew how to fight a little bit. I mean, if someone bumped into you, or if you accidentally, but it was just it was a definitely different, much more aggressive than what people think aggressive was. It was just like you could walk down the street and just get into a fight very easily. It was not something special.
Yeah. So I guess gentrification has done us some favors.
I do want to say that I grew up. Then after when we came back from Israel, we already had been in Flushing, and I moved back to Flushing. And I went to Bound High School, and at my table, it was just such a melting pot. Apgar was from Turkey. Amit was my best friend. He was from India. Gus's family was Greek, Orthodox. It was just this melting pot of just multinational cultures, which was so ironic because it was so close to where Trump grew up in Jamaica, but he was isolated with his parochial schools, and that culture of isolation.
Yeah,
isolation. That bubble, that white bubble. Well, Dad was a white national. Did you know his dad was in KKK, had membership?
Yeah, I actually just listened. I was listening to some folk songs, and
yes.
There's like Old Man Trump.
Woody Guthrie.
Yeah, I just listened to that the other day, and I was like,
unbelievable.
And nobody listened to him. He made a whole song like 80 years ago, warning us about this whole bloodline.
Yes. Do you know what Trump's original name was too?
Drumpf.
Drumpf. Drumph.
Good old Drumpf.
Drumpf. Probably not president if his name is still Drumpf.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't. I don't think it has that ring to it.
So I go to Queens College after high school, surrounded by all these cemeteries still in Queens, Flushing, and I loved Queens College. I had the best teachers. I had Marie Ponceau, who taught me how to do creative writing. I mean, in high schools. So I was part of a program where she taught me how to teach high school students, and then I'd walk into these high school classes where there was all this chaos going around, and within a month I was able to get kids to write stories about themselves. The first story, and this might be something interesting for the audience to try if they were interested in creative writing, is tell a family story that you heard over and over during Christmas or any holiday, where everyone is laughing at the same story year after year. So you got gold. Everyone's laughing at this story, and they would come in with the best stories, and then I taught them how to write a fable.
Mm.
So two different kinds of creatures meet each other on the road. They're walking from opposite directions. The one creature says, and it could be a monster, it could be a donkey, it could be an elephant, it doesn't matter. Just think of two random, whatever comes to mind, two different kinds of animals meet on the road. Then, and one says something, then the other one says something back. Then an incident happens. It could be lightning, it could be a thunderstorm, it could be an earthquake, whatever it is, something happens.
Mm-hmm.
Then the one creature says something, then the other creature says something else. What's the moral? And it would be amazing to hear the great stories that you because it's tapping into something that's inside of us all. We all know fables. We all have our dreams. We all have connections to other parts of our imagination that we're not used to talking about or addressing or recognizing.
Yeah.
And that's why then at Queens College, I was kind of a star. I was walking around in a Devo outfit, like
with the hat.
with not the hat. I never liked the hat.
Yeah, the hat.
Fuck the hat.
It's like a toy.
Too much. But the yellow jumpsuit,
That's
and
badass.
and you know what my book bag was? A bowling bag. So I'm walking in, I'm reading. And I already knew that I was going to be an entertainer. It was clearly had that in me.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk into to read a story in my writing class, and I write a story. It's very meta. I write a story about a guy in a yellow jumpsuit, and he's got a head in a bowling bag, and there's the bowling bag right next to me as I'm reading the story to the class. And then after I read the story,
Mm-hmm.
instead of taking out a head, I take out a watermelon from it and I share it with the class. And I was like, and I won the writing award every year. William Wilson, John Teitel, who wrote many books about the Beat Generation, Marie Ponceau, who taught the creative writing program. She was also a Beat Generation. I was in my glory because now I found all these mentors who were promoting my ideas and understood where I was coming from with the science fiction and the weirdness, and understood that I was part of the new generation of writing. So Thomas Pynchon, The Crying of Lot 49, William Gaddis, they were teaching me who the literary writers who were accepted
Mm-hmm.
by the New Yorker, because the science fiction stuff wasn't as much accepted, right?
Yeah.
So they were teaching me about in the literary world who the great writers were for psychological identities, and so then I graduate college and I get a job at Time Inc. doing production. It's only 3 days a week, three
Mhm.
12-hour shifts.
Okay.
My rent is in Ridgewood. I'm paying $330 a month, and I become a collectibles dealer. And one of the things that I do is I am into books. So, and I know books, and I know the esoteric. I know esoteric books. I know the science fiction books. I know the books from what they taught me, and I have an interest in philosophy and all religions.
Mhm.
Every religion interested me, and I would see connections between all these religions. When you study religions, you really get to see how it comes to a single point, and it gets to it gets to ancient Egypt, and you see how everything came out of this area of study of secret knowledge, and what is the Kabbalah, and what is the Kabbalion. The Kabbalion was an important book for me to understand and read, and it was talking about this way of being, like the Kabbalah, and we'll put a link on for. I got this great rabbi who can easily explain what the Kabbalah is, but essentially, there's the metaphor for the life is the tree of life,
Mhm.
and the low hanging fruit that drops, that then rots and turns to shit.
Mhm.
That's also connected to the trash stratum. because that's trash, right? Except that's where the richness is of the life. Within that death goes into the ground, and then new life is formed out of it. And so this is something that I understood and was interested in studying. And so I only had to work 3 days at Time Inc. And so I went to St. Mark's Place, and I had 4 vendors selling for me all these esoteric books. And that's when
and I mean, I think that's the big thing about this kind of stuff is it's I think that there very much was a point where it all seemed very much science fiction, but the paperwork is out there, directly from the government.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Directly from the government.
Oh, okay. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
like they can put out the paperwork on JFK, oh right, and there's new stuff and all that. But when you really hear about the secret knowledge that is now transparent, and the evidence is there, and that everybody has. Are you the elephant? Are you this ginormous elephant that can lift 800 pounds and move it, but you're still trapped to your childhood of this little string that's that's tied to a little tree?
Yeah. I wanted to just take it back to the science fiction aspect of it for a second, but did you you remember what's his name, the Scientology guy?
L. Ron Hubbard.
L. Ron Hubbard. I know he was a very prolific sci-fi.
Yeah. And he used the energy for the wrong, or that is the corruption. When the genie in a bottle, right? You get 3 wishes. What happens to every joke about a genie in a bottle? Terrible things happen to the person. Why? Why do terrible things happen when you ask for a wish?
I don't know.
It's actually all from secret knowledge. Every single religion has its roots in this secret knowledge that if you use that knowledge for personal gain, for materialistic objects, you are fucked. You are totally going to be fucked over. You can have riches now. Look how sad these motherfuckers are who are in charge.
Yeah.
They're so sad, horrible, miserable people because they used secret knowledge of manipulation, and instead of using this manipulation to help teach the secret knowledge of what they know, they used it for their own benefits and didn't care who they hurt in the process. And that fucking eats people up alive. You don't survive that. You do not survive using knowledge to hurt other people. That's black magic. That's the problem with black magic. It works. You can kill someone. And we'll put links on people who use black magic to kill someone and hurt someone.
Yeah.
Got to come back and eat you up alive.
There'd be some sort of karmic penalty. That sort of BS.
That is a guarantee. Look how miserable they are.
Yeah.
Steve Miller, Trump, name the motherfucker in charge. What kind of lives do they have?
Not great.
Not great.
And I think that's one of the big things that keeps me going. Knowing that at the end of the day, we're all victims to the overarching, whatever you want to call it, capitalism, or the search for just more, just material wealth and stuff like that. We're all victims to it, even if they are able to gain that.
Yeah.
What have they lost in the process?
There's actually one more thing that I just want to talk about because I think we're almost done. And have you ever heard of Mark Fisher?
No, I have not.
Are you going to ask me if he's related to me?
Is Mark Fisher related to you, Larry Fisher?
I'm not. I don't want to talk about it. So the book is the weird and the eerie, and this is something that he's an amazing writer, capitalist realism, where he talks, and part of the new album is influenced by his writing as well. Whenever I'm writing an album, I am not just thinking of one. I didn't just think about Nightlands and write about that. I thought about different aspects of where we are. Why do these monsters, these cosmological monsters, come to the forefront and be so prominent?
Yeah.
And so in capital, well, let me talk about weird and the eerie for a moment because there's something that I want to make a point about. And so the weird and the eerie, and he talks about Lovecraftian monsters in it, and Freud and doppelgangers and weird stuff, which is what the problem that I had with Tim Walz,
Mm-hmm.
saying that the Republicans are weird. No, I'm fucking weird. I'm weird. I have a community of weirdos and weird studies.
Mm-hmm.
I have a community of weirdos with Rod Serling and the foundation and going to conventions. We're weird. We understand our traumatic lives. We're exploring aspects of it. We're nerdy people who read books. We might do I Ching and tarot cards. We have esoteric ways of exploring our imagination. We're weird, and eerie is kind of like uh, you know what? Go to the last cut on this is a good way to end. Actually, the last cut on New Age of cosmic horrors, and then we'll be done for this episode. But there's gonna be I am gonna come clean to you. I've never come clean to anyone about it. I mean, Rachel doesn't even know my involvement with some of the things that I've talked about today.
Okay. Yeah, I've done a little bit of research into MK Ultra,
Yeah,
those sorts of things, and how they had a hypnotist running the whole shebang,
yeah.
and yeah, just it's right there in black
It's
and
right.
white.
Why? What make seriously? What makes it so hard for people to break that chain that
I
that
think
they can lift 800 pounds, but they can't break away from the chain from what they were taught as kids.
and I don't know how it's been able to be maintained for so long. I think I have an idea, propaganda, of course, but for some reason, for a long time, people have been laboring under the misconception that government is there to do good things for them, whereas in reality, the government has their whole own thing that they're doing that they don't want you to know about, but you're funding it. And I think we're starting to see that a lot of the stuff that they were into is not stuff that's necessarily good for the people
I will
at
have
all.
what to say after for the next episode. I will have what to say about it, but I'll tell
Okay.
you within every government agency,
Mm-hmm.
there are the people who are coming from our point of view of people who have experienced their trauma and trying to help people. Like,
Yeah.
I think if anything that we're learning about government now is that all these agencies actually were helping lots of people. There were lots of agencies that were actually helping,
Yeah.
protecting people and saving people, and now it's being taken away, and now
Yeah.
we're seeing the results of what happens. But
Mm-hmm.
within every government agency, and I'll be very specific on the next episode, within every agency, there's battles going on between different forces.
Mm.
And some of them are materialistic forces, people who are just looking for the black magic that they can get to manipulate.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are people who are willing to help people explore the secret knowledge of how to really live a fuller life. And the battle is very real and very dark.
Mm-hmm.
And we are gonna see it now for sure.
Okay.
Um, But the yeah, the okay. So we're just waiting for commercial.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to intro the track,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
there's any, and then we can of course talk.
yeah. Yeah, we'll just talk through the track. So,
Drifting into nothingness.
yeah.
Faculty. Got it.
So, I for this album, and there are a lot of people who are not gonna like the visuals because I utilized AI,
Yeah.
and to me, it is how you use it, and that I want to tell you that for me, using the AI and the way that our approach to it
Mm-hmm.
was to actually explore it as a possible esoteric secret knowledge. What is the secret knowledge? Like there are things. There's a in one video where I say have a guy throw a beer bottle, and he throws the beer bottle, and his hand is still attached to it,
Yeah.
and he throws it, and maybe it's because the prompts that we used were so strange also, because I would say swashbuckler with surfboard putting out fire in LA, or stuff like that, and then seeing what it would do, and just because it didn't mean that I would use the footage, but then I would also say, we have editing techniques that we were using, so we did it. So it was a wonderful growing experience for me to use AI, and I feel like I saw AI as a partner in this program.
Yeah. It really does democratize the process.
It was special for us to use it and to explore the notion, and not everybody is going to like it, and there's going to be a lot of haters out there, and I'm used to haters.
I mean, they're usually.
I am someone. I am used to right wing hating me, left wing. I don't care.
I mean, if you have haters, that means you're doing something right. You're putting yourself out there.
Putting myself
It's
out
the
there.
biggest thing you can do.
And okay. So and that's great. That was good enough. And I just thank you so much. I hope I had such a really great time doing this interview, and I feel like I probably saved some therapeutic money.
Hey, if there's one thing we can get out of this whole situation, then I will take it. A little bit of mental health help.
Do you have any questions or anything else that you want to?
I mean, I'm looking forward to the meat and potatoes.
If you are looking for meat and potatoes, the meat and potatoes are coming your way.
But yeah, I think this is a great intro.
Yeah.
To you as a person too.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think there's like, you have the introduction to a person, but then you want to know what they actually think about stuff. And I think it's a great introduction for how interesting of a person you are and what other stories you might have to tell. So yeah, okay. So
thanks again. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Let's put out the we'll put out the we'll put out the links for the
check
next.
Out Faculty X. Check out their releases. They have a bunch. We'll put some links so you'll be able to follow them. But till we meet again, I have been Pi. Once again,
Pie or square? My mama always made pie that were round.
All right, it's over.